Hello, this is Edward Troxel, and in today's video we're going to look at the same script we've been looking at in the past two parts. In part 3 we're going to look at some of the formatting that we use to keep our program so that we can easily tell what's missing or what might be incorrect. We're also going to look at the APIs and the samples that are available. And of course, there's always a web search you can do to find more information on various topics. So let's get started. When programming in Premiere Pro, a good website to go to would be this Premiere Pro scripting docs for Adobe. It will give you basically what's available under app. So when we type in app dot, this is the type of stuff that we're going to be able to search. So let's look at, say, active sequence and do a search for active sequence and see some of the things that are available here. And you can see these items came up. Let's go to the sequence object. And as we scroll down, first of all, you will see that there are several attributes that we have access to, and there are several methods that we have access to. This will show us the different attributes and let us see that we have access to, say, audio display format, the audio tracks, which we have used several times. And notice that it says that this is read-only, so we can only read the audio tracks. We can't write to that. This is read-only. This is read-only. A lot of these are read-only. Then you get to the sequence name. This one is read plus write, so we can both read the name or we can change the name. As we scroll on down, we'll get to the methods, and you will see that the methods typically have a bunch of parameters associated with them. So when we look at this, for example, if we create a sequence, we can ignore the channel mapping, and it says ignore channel mapping as a Boolean. If we did an export as Final Cut Pro XML, it's looking for an output path. That is going to be a string. This one has 3 parameters, an output path, a preset path, and a work area type. So the output path is a string, preset path is a string, and the work area type, you've got these 3 options here to choose from. So it'll be a 0, a 1, or a 2. One that we have just used is the get player position. In this particular case, it will just get the player position. It has no parameters, and it returns a time object representing the current player position. So we just use that to determine where to put the file on the timeline. Most of the time, when you have a get option, you're also going to have a set option. So in this case, we have a set player position, in which case we would pass it a time parameter, and that would move the player position to be at that new time. So we can actually, via the script, move the cursor position. Another thing we just used is import files. So let's search for that. Import files. And that is under the project object. And if you recall, we did app.project.import files. The one thing I want to show here is that when we did the import files, here are the parameters that we had to provide it. So the first thing was the file path, 1 or more file paths, and that's the reason we had to pass it an array. Then we chose to suppress the UI by putting a 1 there, and then we had to tell it what bin we wanted it placed into, and then we had to tell it if this array was a bunch of numbered stills instead of a bunch of separate files. Another good website to go to is this samples, and this particular file has all kinds of samples in it, so you can go through and see exactly what all is available here as a sample. Update all growing files, save project, export current frame as a ping, project panel selection changed, all kinds of things you can see is available here. What's nice to do though is, for example, we wanted to import files into this last one, so I can do a quick find, import files, and I found an actual function already created here called import files. And this shows you how to open the file dialog, set the files into the array, and then it calls the import files using this array here, true to suppress the warnings, the bin that it wanted to use, and then false that it is not numbered stills. So this particular one has a lot of good samples in here. Most of these samples might not do exactly what you're wanting to do, but it will give you an idea of what you can change to make it do what you want to do. For example, our find bin routine that we just wrote, here is a routine that actually does a little bit more than what ours did, because this one will look for a bin with a specific name, but it will also search subfolders until it actually finds the bin no matter where it is in the sequence. Next, let's take a look here. The formatting that we place in our routines are also very important. If you'll notice, I have an open bracket here, and then I have scooted over. Then I have another open bracket here, and I have scooted over further. Then I have another open bracket, and I have scooted over further. For this if statement, everything in between these open brackets is going to be done. For this for statement, everything inside these brackets are going to be done. And if you look, if you start here and go straight down, you're going to start with an open bracket and end with a closing bracket. Same thing here. Start with an open bracket, end with a closing bracket. By doing our formatting this way, we can make sure that we're not accidentally missing a closing bracket somewhere that would cause us to have an error in our script. Formatting is very important when you're writing a script, because the better formatted your scripts are, the better you can go in and make changes later. And for example, another thing to do would be to come in here and possibly put a comment in here, which you can do by putting a // and then say this routine will find a bin in the root of the sequence. And then you know exactly what that routine was for. So as you can see, there's all kinds of video examples out there, all kinds of, the API will let you look at everything that you have access to, and the FAQ will show you several example files, and of course we are going to show many more examples on this website as well, and there's always good old-fashioned web searches that can help you in your programming. Please sign up at www.jettv.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.